All right, Tina, let's get into the business.
Keith.
Let's get into the business and branding segment with your cartoon character, Keith Willis, over here.
You gonna do the whole segment like that? What the fuck? Seriously?
That could be fun, actually. That totally could be fun.
It would be fun for you, maybe.
Yeah, it would be not fun for our audience, probably. Hey, who's the fucking card? Although I'll tell you somebody. I'm going to do this right now because I had a meeting with somebody yesterday who's an expert in AI. And they built a big business on AI, and I'll share more about this with you off camera because I don't want to tease too much to Nation just yet.
Don't tease too much. No, don't tease too much.
And she says to me, she's like, Keith, she goes, I'm coming to you, true story. I'm coming to you because everybody is creating AI generated stuff, AI characters, AI text, AI video, AI audio, Google LLM notebooks. And she says to me, I'd like to have a real life Keith Billis, John Anderson, and Christopher Martin do some work with us. I'm like, oh yeah? She goes, yeah, because you guys are real and entertaining. You're not just AI. I'm like, oh, true story, Kristina. She's like, everybody is doing AI stuff. And she says, what I'm seeing is more and more people are leaning into, can we find an entertaining human? Interesting.
It's incredibly interesting. I was listening to Greg Eisenberg's podcast, SIP, so Startup Ideas Podcast. And he was talking with somebody related to the fact that they believe the next iteration of this is actually like the unscalable. So when everyone, and Greg talks about this often, whenever the pendulum swings one way, it tends to swing back. And if you look at the back of what's the opposite of the way that it's going, that tends to be the opportunity. So right now we're seeing everyone go to AI. We're seeing AI influencers. We're seeing AI personal brands. If you look the other way, which is real life and people, because everyone's going one way, look the opposite, and there could be a lot of opportunity there.
And not to reveal anything about the business.
Turn it off. I can't have a real conversation with you.
Adam's laughing over there in the comments. I got to get you one of these so we can actually have one of these cartoon character conversations.
That's not, I'd like to know what I would look like in Pixar. So maybe I'll do that in Dolly later today.
Yes. But what I do find interesting is while the world continues to move to AI generated content, we just keep leaning into this live conversation, which is the opposite stream of everybody else. And people are like, oh yeah, real live human beings talking. Gee, what a novel.
Though you and I both know there's a place for AI in this very human-centric conversation that we have every day too.
Yes.
So when you think about, a lot of people go to everything.
Yes.
I talked about it in the brand bite today, all or nothing. So I'm all AI, everything. I'm going to build an AI influencer. Like we haven't even scratched the surface on what we're going to see with AI influencers. So people might say, why the fuck should I even worry? Why should I build my brand? I'll just build an AI influencer. Okay, you can. Getting through that noise of everyone who's going to be doing that, the millions of people who are going to be doing that, is going to be incredibly difficult. So what's your differentiator? In this case, which is wild to say, your differentiator is your humanity, is your personality, we talked about this. We met with somebody yesterday and they were like, have y'all known each other a long time?
Yeah.
And we were like, about 60 days.
Yes.
60 days. I'm really comfortable with who I am. You're really comfortable with who you are. And you can have this dynamic in a way that is very hard to replicate. Although I won't say it won't happen one day, very hard to replicate with AI.
Yes.
But fuck, do we use a lot of AI to get this shit done? Because we're a very small team.
That is what I think is not often discussed, right? So we're starting a brand new media company here and there's humans on the face of it, but holy smokes, are we heavily powered by AI? And that is
no way we'd be able to do what we do without it.
No, and that is the difference, Nation. So again, we're talking business and branding, and we're just going to segue right into this. What we're doing on a daily basis is not possible without all the AI behind us. It's just not, right? So
how many more team members do you think we would need?
Half dozen, easily. Because so when you're building your business, and to Kristina's point, and to this point of why somebody knocked on my door yesterday going, yeah, so we could, because I said to her, Kristina, I'm like, why don't you go create like an AI generated podcast? She goes, no, because everybody else is. So why'd you come to me? She goes, because you're a human being who's entertaining. I was like, oh, think about that for a second.
First she lied to you because you ain't that entertaining.
I know.
I'm kidding.
No, but to your point though, oh, what do you mean? Your key differentiator is you're a human being and you're entertaining? Like what? How is that not different when we went from the Charlie Chaplin era to comedians who spoke, to color, to pictures and entertainment. Like we're just, society is a cycle, man. It's just a cycle. We're all going to go lean into remake things with AI, and then we're going to bring it back into the world. So back in the old days, you start a media company with a transmitter and a building and a bunch of human beings and start a morning show. Now we're like, okay, let's put some human beings in front of a camera, find some AI to support us, and start a media company. It's very different.
We've talked a lot about nostalgia on this show, and I think
Yes.
some of our age actually speaks to that, and the age of our audience speaks to that.
Yes.
Marty's on the young side,
Yes.
whereas we speak more so skewing to like 35 to 54.
Yes.
That's broad in and of itself, but because of that, and because of our lived experiences, we can appreciate what nostalgia looks like in this realm of media. We can appreciate that
Yes.
when someone says, "What the fuck are y'all doing?" My description is old school talk radio
Yeah.
meets local morning show meets a bit of Howard Stern.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What?"
Yes.
And I'm like, "I know it's weird, but they never say what does that mean?" They
Well,
know exactly what that means. They know what talk radio is. They know what morning shows locally are. They know what Howard Stern is. So that in and of itself is enough of a descriptor that when you pull those things together and you use the tools available to you, which is platforms like YouTube and
Mhm.
LinkedIn, there's a very different level of being able to push things in a way that we couldn't have done at any other time, quite frankly.
No question about it. No question about it.
Turn it off.
And
The Pixar's
talk
making
about
me screw up.
transform your life and change your life through the power of practice, mindset practice, doing the same thing over and over. Let's talk about how I built ICUC and how we're building this company by repetitive practice. And let's talk about how you build your brand through repetitive practice, a personal brand. And often that goes into spending time on social, spending time doing things repetitively when it's not working, when you're not getting the dopamine hit, when you're not getting the response or reactions you want, but yet you still need to do it. Let's take the next 10 minutes, Kristina, and share our experience with Business Athlete Nation around how the power of the mindset, practicing techniques to get through the day, to build the business, and to build the personal brand. Where do we want to start?
I think it's just that, right? Like what does it look like for you? Actually, I want to start a little bit sooner than that.
Sure.
When you were starting, I see one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with is patience. And
Mhm.
in order to practice and apply that practice mindset, you have to acknowledge from the get that this is going to be a longer journey and you're going to need to be patient in the approach that you take. What was your mindset as a very young entrepreneur approaching your company, and were you patient or were you not? Did you struggle
Oh,
with that?
good question. No, I wasn't. Oh my, so there's
What does
some,
that mean? What does that mean to
yeah,
you?
there's something for you, nation, to learn. What you're thinking is going to take, it's going to take you 2 years to take, it's going to take you 4 or 5. You,
More.
you, you got to find a way to find patience. You got to find a way to enjoy the process. I was sitting down with the same person yesterday who's on their way with their business, and it seems to be doing this right now. She was telling me, and I'm like, listen, what I can offer you is be patient and enjoy the ride, right? Because it's going to go real fast. Lean into the speed, but also be patient through the process. And it's going to suck. It's going to be a lot of days you're going to hate. There's going to be a lot of days you're going to bang your head. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to look at the calendar and it's going to come, the calendar is going to happen fast. Like you're going to look at today is October 9th. You're going to look at it's already November. It's already December. So you have to, I know it sounds so cliche, Kristina, but it is really just finding a way to, yeah, Shinku, good things come to those who wait. I hate that fucking cliche, but it's so true. Working through the difficult, repetitive things daily that you hate, knowing that it's going to suck today, it's going to suck tomorrow, but on Friday it's going to be better. I don't know. I
And
don't know what better advice I can offer you. Is that I struggle with that whole process. I've had to learn it. So if I can offer, so begging conversations with my younger self, try to learn patience while you're going through it in your 30s and 40s.
I don't even know if I would say try to learn it. I would just say just try to accept it. Whether you like it, whether you've learned it or not, it's a fact. Unfortunately, for most of us, we had to go through it and we had to realize and be humbled at. I remember thinking with my first company, who the fuck did I think I was?
Yeah.
Walking into this thing with all the confidence in the world because The people that tend to be entrepreneurs are those that are high potential and high performers. And we have confidence for the most part in our ability because typically we've gotten the yeses. Typically things have gone our way in
Yes.
terms of what we put our mind to. When you're facing as an entrepreneur this reality of I can work as hard as I can and it's still not work. I can work as smart as I possibly can and it still may not work. That's a very humbling experience. And a lot of us, you just give up. You give up way before you see the compounding benefits. So when you think about this idea of practice now, from ICUC 32-year-old something Keith to now how you're applying those lessons learned to what you're doing every single day and building this company, what are the differences that you're seeing?
The differences I'm saying is I have awareness now. I know I can reconcile some of the feelings. Okay, I know what that feels like. And I think I think for me, what's different as much as anything, Kristina, is the urgency of time moving forward. Right. I've learned. So I think what age does for you and through the experience of business, it teaches you how to feel time. So how to put a practicing mindset in to play with time moving forward. So what am I trying to say with that? So we're October right now. I'm already thinking it's January. I didn't think that way before. I didn't know how to think that way before. So now I know that January is actually January is really tomorrow. So as an entrepreneur, I'm thinking about January being tomorrow. And as we're going through this quarter, I'm thinking about March being around the corner. I didn't know that before. That's a practice that I had to learn to do. And a practice that I do daily or often with myself is that idea of looking forward and then using what John always says is feeling to recognize what that feels like. Okay, so right now it's actually November 15th. What have we accomplished?
Mm-hmm.
It's a really remarkable practice to go through when you can do it diligently. Sitting down, challenging yourself to put a time in the calendar and pretend it's that time, and then reflect upon it, what you've accomplished.
Yeah, I'm always reminded of the first time I ever tried or learned about mindfulness
Yes.
as an athlete. I remember
Yes.
sitting there with my mindfulness cognitive behavioral therapist, which, as we know, is talk about privilege, but sitting there with her and going, okay, so what's the goal? She's like, the goal is to practice. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, but what's my outcome? What am I getting towards? Because that's just the way I was used to thinking. And at
Yes.
this stage, I'm like 35 years old, 33 years old. I'm going like, okay, but I'm working towards something. What do I work towards? And she was like, nothing. You work towards doing it. You work towards getting whatever you can out of that moment. There is nothing that you're actually trying to attain. And yes, you can have your own personal goals with it, but that's not the point. The point is you're going to show up and you're going to do the thing every day. And hopefully it gives you some clarity, but there's going to be days you don't get clarity. So going into those situations is incredibly difficult for people like you and I that are high performers and probably a lot of our audience members. When you think about how practice has changed and transformed your life, which is a big theme of today's show, what are some of the things that you do every single day that you see as your practice? And I want to think about that both from a business side and from a personal side, because since we've worked together, you are very regimented. And
Yeah.
I feel like every day for you is a practice. What does that look like in your life?
Absolutely. Good morning, Tangerine. Good to see you here this morning. Mornings in the lab with Keith and friends. You're hanging out with us during the business and branding bite. And Kristina just asked me, what's my morning practice look like? To me, it's that idea of being the business athlete, right? My day. So my day is very structured. My day starts at 4 a.m. I feed the dogs. I grab my coffee to set the day. And so for me, it's grab my coffee and read my sources of information, just like the old dude. I got my 7 sources and I read them all by 5.
Your paper and your grapefruit.
Exactly it. Yeah. I get my brain full to start the day. I then sit down at around, hit the gym. I try to get into the gym for an hour and change before I get into the show. I'm in the lab here for the show. The show starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'm in the lab here I try to be in here by 7:30 to get ready for the show. We do the show from 8 till 10. We then do post-production for an hour and a half. The power of AI. We do an entire 2-hour 8 podcast show and then produce it in 90 minutes, nation. True story. So then we do that. Then after being up and working for 8 hours, I start my day. Yeah, that's the life of an entrepreneur. And then I get down on my desk and I go through the rest of the day until I start my day at whatever it is, 11, 12 o'clock, and then go till whatever it is, 5, 6, have dinner with the family, feed the dogs, and go about that, and then spend time with my wife or do some work, and then hit the bed. Trying to get to bed by 8, 9 o'clock so I can redo it all again same day.
How's that going? How's that getting to bed by 8, 9 o'clock? Because that's hard.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's getting better. It's becoming more of a non-negotiable for me. And you know why, Kristina? Because we keep talking about the power of sleep. And again, if I'm going to keep getting on this show and recommending and making suggestions to others and not do it myself, it makes me a hypocrite. When we talk about these 7 habits of de-escalating arguments, well, damn rights, I'm working on that myself. I'm telling people they got to get their sleep in. Well, damn rights, I'm working on that myself. And more so, Kristina, so I can tell my kids that I want to be around longer, because we know that sleep leads to longevity. And it's a habit that not enough of us as human beings spend enough time talking or doing enough about. So for me, for this show, I need to keep getting my sleep. So yeah, the habits, my day doesn't happen without habits, very much like John Anderson. Right? I just got to be habitual. Checkbox, right?
And there's freedom in that, which has taken me a long time to acknowledge and understand. My neurodiverse brain wants uniqueness. My neurodiverse brain wants every day to look different. And what I had to realize was there's actually freedom in making your days look different if you take the things that need to be done throughout the day, that must be done throughout the day, and you make them a practice and you make them a habit. That energy and that brain power that you're using typically to find those moments, it goes away, because as John says, it becomes autopilot. And then you're not having to worry about that. I'm not there yet. I'm much better. I remember years and years spent struggling for the morning routine. I'm much better, but also I'm in a stage in life where I have to also be flexible. I have very young children. I have 2 young kids. My days won't look exactly the same. And I still need to apply that thinking to it to say, great, what can I control today? And what can I make sure that's still going to push forward my practice? And I know immediately, like, this doesn't sound like a conversation about business and branding, but it absolutely is, because without doing this and without putting these kinds of systems in place and without acknowledging that these are really hard things to do, I don't want anyone thinking that we've got it all figured out, because we don't. We struggle every day just like everyone else.
Oh, hey, I started.
Look at you. You definitely don't have it figured out. God damn it. You're a Pixar character.
I started the show as cartoon character Keith. Watch what happens when I put my glasses on, because cartoon character Keith gets the glasses as well. But I started the show looking like this. And while you just did say that, look at that, the glasses come on, right? This is the power of technology, dude. But what you did say, yes, this is a business and branding segment. True. If my non-negotiables in my life, my habits to help me transform and change my life, my daily practices, if that doesn't happen, then my business isn't building and my personal brand isn't. My personal brand is very much linked to my daily habits. The entire business athlete manifesto, ethos, principles are all linked to daily habits. You either A, are a business athlete, or B, you aspire to be one. And to be one, you're living with non-negotiable habits. If you are aspiring to be one, it's about teaching you. And I know you work at it every single day, Tina, and I've seen you improve every single day. Okay, I'm working on my non-negotiables, getting there. And it's just this life of constant improvement. But listen, let's wrap it up. The segment wrapping up your business and branding. The show's wrapping up 2 hours. You like that, Tangerine? I'm going to go back for you. See, Kristina, I'm getting support from the audience here. So I got to go back to this.
Tangerine, I love you, but do not encourage him, please.
Yeah, exactly. So listen.
I have the power to block you. I will take you. I'm just kidding. I would never do that.
All right. So listen, Keith and Kristina, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. We'd go to every single day, 8 o'clock Eastern time with Keith, John, Marty, Kristina Flynn, and Rich Ingram on Wednesdays. Wrapping up today's show, we talked about changing your life, the power of the practice mindset. Listen, to have success, it's boring. It's quite boring. You got to just do it daily, day in, day in, day out, day in, day out. And yes, there's freedom in that, but there's also a lot of freedom in changing your day when you have that freedom to do it. Kristina, let's get out of here. Great show. We're back tomorrow on Thursday. Looking at my calendar, I think we have, who do we have showing up on the calendar tomorrow there, Kristina?
Greg Stepp.
Yes, I know. We may not
have one of the greatest radio hoaxes apparently ever.
Yes, and apparently we may not have Greg tomorrow. It's a moving target because, I just got a note from Greg. I'm going to need to reschedule for sure because we're going to be in middle of the storm and I'm not sure if I'm going to have power. So Greg, if you're tuning in right now, be safe.
Thinking about you, Greg.
Yeah, you guys, to all of you guys over there, over in the middle of Florida, where that nasty hurricane's on their way, we're thinking about you guys. And Greg will get you back on in the future. It's Kristina. Have an awesome day. We'll talk to you later, okay?
Talk to you later.
Get
See
out
you.
of here.